And the Prophet forecast that, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he prophesies it. لا يتقين أحدكم شبعان على أريكته يأتيه أمر مما أمرت به أو نهيت عنه فيقول ما وجدنا في كتاب الله أخذنا به. Don't let any of you sit back and you're full. You ate a lot of food and you recline on your couch comfortably, and you say when something that I told you to do or I prohibited you from doing it, someone comes to you with the dalil from the sunnah and you say, I'm only going to take what's in the Quran. I'm only going to take what's in the Quran. So before giving you this example, Ikhwani, I am not saying, and it should never be said, that the sunnah is better than the Quran. Never say that. The Quran is the kalam of Allah. When you read it, you get 10 hasanat for every harf. Alif is a harf, lam is a harf, mim is a harf. If you read the Quran, the hadith, you don't get that type of hasanat. Even if the hadith is hadith al-Qudsi, where the Prophet said that Allah said, Inni khalaqtu ibadi hunafa kulluhum. That's not the hadith. That's not the Quran that if you read it. There's virtues in memorizing the hadith. No doubt. There's virtues. But the Quran is the kalam of Allah. They're not the same. The Quran is greater in the scales and with Allah Azza wa Jal. Anyway, the last example, those things that the Quran came. The Quran came and added on what the Sunnah didn't say. It's like the example of the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is not in the Quran. Abu Huraira, in what was collected by Imam al-Bukhari, he said that the Prophet said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا يجمع بين المرأة وعمتها ولا بين المرأة وخالتها. A man should not marry at the same time, simultaneously. He has a wife, he shouldn't marry his wife and marry her maternal auntie at the same time. Nor he marry his wife, a lady, he marries his wife and her paternal auntie at the same time. If he marries her and she dies, he can marry her auntie, the khala or the amma. But as long as he has her, he can't marry the other one. That's a ruling that's in the Sunnah, that's not in the Quran. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah mentioned the 13 women who we can't marry. He mentioned all of them. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ وَبَنَاتُكُمْ وَأَخَوَاتُكُمْ وَعَمَّاتُكُمْ وَخَالَاتُكُمْ وَبَنَاتُ الْأَخِ وَبَنَاتُ الْبِنْتِ وَبَنَاتُ الْأُخْتِ وَأُمَّهَاتُكُمْ الَّتِي أَرْضَعْنَكُمْ وَأَخَوَاتُكُمْ مِنَ الرَّضَاعَةِ وربائبكم اللاتي في حجوركم من نسائكم اللاتي دخلتم بهن فإن لم تكونوا دخلتم بهن فلا جناح عليكم وحلائل أبنائكم الذين من أصلابكم وأن تجمعوا بين الأختين إلا ما قد سلف. All of those people, you can't marry them. Your mother, your sister, your daughter, your maternal aunt, your paternal aunt, your nieces from your brother, your sister, the lady who you sucked from her and you became her son from suckling, her daughters, they become also your sisters. You can't marry them. You can't marry the wife of your mother. Once you make the contract on your wife, her mother is haram for you until Yawm al-Qiyamah. You can't marry your wife's daughter, your stepdaughter. You can't marry her if you consummate it with your mother, with her mother. If you didn't consummate, you divorced the mother before you consummated, she died before you consummated, then you can marry her daughter. You can't marry the women who your sons marry, your sons from your own loins. And you can't marry two girls who are sisters at the same time. And then the next ayat Allah mentioned, and you can't marry women. And then he mentioned, وَأُحِلَّ لَكُمْ مَا وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ. And everything other than that is halal. Everything other than that is halal. So what was not mentioned in that ayat is the auntie of your daughter, of your wife. The Sunnah came and said that a man can't marry his wife and her maternal or paternal aunt simultaneously. So the shahid and the point here is that the Sunnah came and it added on a lot of rulings that are not in the Quran. Foods that we can't eat that are not in the Quran. things that we can do, like wear silk, wear gold. It's not in the Quran. Things that we can do. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, we saw a lady, and that lady plucked her eyebrows, as is the common practice of the women today. And he said to her, Allah Ta'ala has cursed you and the women who do that in the Quran. She said, I read the Quran, never saw that ayah. He said, you didn't read the Quran. She went back and she took her time and she read the Quran slowly. She still didn't find the ayah. She came back and said, Ya Aba Abdurrahman, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, I didn't see this statement in the Quran. He said, did you not read what Allah Ta'ala said? وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the Prophet gives you, take it. And whatever he prohibits you from, then leave it alone. She said, yes, I heard that ayah. He said, well, I heard the Prophet say, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لَعْنَ اللَّهِ الْوَاسِلَ وَالْمُسْتَوْسِلَ وَالْأَنَّامِسَ وَالْمُتَنَمِّسَ. I heard the Prophet curse the lady who plucked her eyebrows and the lady who plucked her eyebrows for her. So he saw that authentic hadith as being from the Quran on the strength of the ayat. Whatever the Prophet told you to do, you have to do it. It comes to you, the authentic sunnah. So those are the three wada'if of the sunnah. Concerning usul sunnah, the sunnah that Imam Ahmed is talking about, ikhwani, here is not the sunnah from what we mentioned. He's talking about the sunnah of the aqidah and the minhaj that the Muslims of Ahlul Hadith are upon. The sunnah that's the opposite of innovation. The sunnah that's the opposite of al-bid'ah. Ahlul sunnah as opposed to Ahlul bid'ah. The innovation. The one that the Prophet told the people, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, alaykum bis sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa al-rashidin al-mahdiyyin min ba'd. When you start seeing a lot of the ikhtilaf and a lot of the opinions that are varying, that the people are taking, then take my sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided khulafa al-rashidin. Those things that are away from innovations. Those things that are away from what the people have introduced in the religion. So the sunnah here, the origin and the fundamentals of the sunnah, meaning the ideology, the aqidah of Ahlul Hadith. The very first one is following the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam and taking them as an example. And then he mentions other things. If the Muslims today, especially the young people today in this city and in this country right here, if they took the time out to study the book Usul Sunnah of Al-Imam Ahmed, a lot of the fitna and crazy ideas and crazy methodologies that we're trying to change the situation and that we're trying to use will come to know there's a way to do things and a way not to do things. So this is what we want to present today as just the introduction of the book. After today, inshallah, in the next coming durus, we're going to deal with each one of the usul of the sunnah. And the sunnah here is not talking about the sunnah of what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the way of issues of fiqh or other than that, but what he said and what he did and what his companions after him, radiyallahu anhum, what they said and what they did in regard to each one of these conditions and issues that Al-Imam Ahmed is going to present.